So as we know, in the Pokemon anime, the way that they handled the Pokemon League is a bit different. In the games, you collect 8 badges, you traverse your way through Victory Road and face down the Elite Four and Champion, the toughest trainers in the region. If you win, you are now the champion of that region. But in the anime, it is very different. You collect your 8 badges, you head to the Pokemon League, but the Pokemon League is a giant tournament of trainers who have all gathered 8 badges themselves. This can span up to 250 trainers, all competing for glory. No Elite Four, no champions, just a big clash of rivals and standard trainers. So let's talk about why they made this change and why Ash never got his traditional Elite Four battles. So the change that the anime made was definitely a bold choice. Instead of getting 5 back-to-back awesome battles, we got a big old tournament. And it was smart in the fact that it was a place for Ash's rivals to gather and to settle the scores that have been set up throughout the region. I personally love a good anime tournament arc, and the fact that we get one at the end of each Pokemon series is incredible. Some of my favourite moments and battles exist in these tournaments, but I do feel like we still missed a trick by not having that traditional sense of the Elite Four and Champion challenge. It would have been very cool to see Ash rock up to the Indigo Plateau and face down Bruno, Lance and the rest, but I guess at the time of the Indigo League, Ash would have been embarrassed and sent home packing, so I get why they didn't want to fully commit to doing that, and it would have been one battle and it's over, especially in the Kanto days. Ash did of course meet his fair share of Elite Four members and champions, and he even battled a lot of them, but not in the traditional challenge sense. From the Kanto League he battled Agatha in the Advanced Generation and he battled Lorelei in the Orange Islands, 2 very awesome episodes. And then he met Bruno while training, and as for Lance, I don't think we need to explain that one. So Ash does encounter a lot of them over the course of his journey, and it's always so cool how the anime built them up. They were these overpowered elite trainers who couldn't be touched, especially early on, like when Ash meets Drake from the Hoenn League and gets absolutely humbled. They were always characterised really well. It's just a shame we never saw them one by one intense battles that we all love in the games. The impending feeling of dread as you enter each member's chamber while they just stand there aura farming. Drake was actually the only member of the Hoenn Elite Four to appear in the anime, which is a massive shame. We did of course have Steven and Wallace, which was cool, but there is quite a few members that just don't show up at all, and that is missed potential. But things really started to be questioned in Sinnoh. This is where the writers were just cooking up all sorts of sauce. They were desperately trying to create new elements and not just copy what came before. We see all 4 of the Sinnoh Elite Four members and they all came and delivered a lot of wisdom onto our gang. Lucian helping out Dawn, Bertha helping out Ash, Aaron having a wholesome episode, and then Flint playing a major role in Ash's final gym battle with Volkner. The Elite Four of Sinnoh was where the writers decided to make them such a main part of the story, not to mention Cynthia, who was a major character throughout the whole series and had the largest role from any champion so far. She stole the show. Throughout Sinnoh, every time we'd meet a member of the Elite Four, we'd hear about their upcoming battles. Finally, these characters were getting development and we were seeing stuff beyond a simple regional Pokemon League. We heard about the mysterious thing called the Champion League, and it was so clear to me that they wanted to build this into something big. They had plans to make the next step after Ash would finally win a league. That's how it felt. We were actively tracking the Elite Four members and we would basically see Cynthia crush all of them and remain the Sinnoh champion. But we learned that once you win a regional Pokemon League, you can challenge their Elite Four and champion.
They'll both be entering the Champion League, and how I look forward to that day.
So if Ash did win the Sinnoh League, he could have challenged the Elite Four. So it was actually being set up, and it's a real shame that we never got to see that fulfilled. If only Black and White didn't do the whole reset, we might have still got a chance. So basically in the anime world, the traditional Pokemon League did exist, but it only existed for a certain few that won their own regional leagues. So the likes of Alan could challenge the Kalos Elite Four, Tyson could challenge the Hoenn Elite Four, and so on. So I think it's pretty obvious by Kalos and Alola this concept and idea was completely scrapped, probably down to different writers, or it could be many different aspects, because we never really heard about it again. I guess the Pokemon World Championship could count as something that replaced that, but it's still a very different idea. And to be fair to Black and White, it actually mentioned the Champion League. Trip has the clear goal of winning the Unova League so that he can have an official battle with Alder. That is his main goal and his purpose of battling. So the idea is kind of carried on from Sinnoh, but not much else was really done with it.
You see, Alder's my goal. Winning the Unova League is just a stepping stone as far as I'm concerned. My ultimate goal is getting to the Champion League. And once I get there, I'll defeat Alder.
As the series went on, Ash of course gets so much stronger. He even went on to face a few Elite Four and champion level trainers. He defeated Drasna of the Kalos Elite Four in the PWC. It was strange in Alola because technically in the anime they don't really have an Elite Four, they still just have the Kahunas, which are kind of the Elite Four but not really. And then similar in Galar, they don't have an Elite Four, they just have tournaments, where Ash did battle Marnie. So he did end up battling a lot of these big trainers in the Pokemon World Championships. Obviously the most notable run is him taking down 3 damn champions in a row, Steven, Cynthia and then Leon, which is insane. So by the end of the series we didn't really need him to challenge the traditional Elite Four, but I do wish that the promises we got back in Diamond and Pearl were fulfilled. It really felt like they were building on something great with the Champions League. I guess the nature of the Alola League not really having a traditional sense of an Elite Four in the anime made it hard for Ash to actually challenge them again, especially considering the likes of Olivia and Hala are trainers Ash already beat on his Grand Trials. So since that was his first Pokemon League win, it would have been an awkward time to bring back up this Champion League and have Ash go and challenge it. For me, it would have been perfect if he didn't get reset in Black and White and he just went on to win the Unova League and challenge that Elite Four. It would have been the perfect progression. He could have maybe got past a few of them, beaten Chantel and Marshall and then lost to Grimsley or Caitlyn, and then got a glimpse of the champion Older, which would correlate with his rivalry with Trip, played into the whole storyline a bit more, as Trip was chasing Older himself. And then he could have gone on to Kalos and actually won the damn Kalos League, beaten Alan, challenged the Kalos Elite Four, taken all of them down, got to battle Diantha for the title of Kalos Champion, a perfect rematch to that battle earlier on they had, but Ash would lose this and Diantha would win, which would then set up him becoming the first and only Alola champion ever. You could have kept Alola the same and filled in the gaps to make it all a cohesive story where the story that was set up all the way back in Sinnoh comes true and we see the natural progression, and then the PWC could have been the same. How awesome would that have been, seeing Ash finally get to take on his traditional Elite Four challenge. It also would have been fitting if Ash was one day to go back to Kanto and take on all of the Kanto Elite Four as well, finally becoming the Kanto champion, taking his rightful place to mirror in the footsteps of his counterpart Red. There's just so much in the world of Elite Four and champions that the anime could have done. They did do a great job, but the existence of the Pokemon League tournaments in the anime just changed the dynamic of the whole series. Not in a bad way, as they all have their own charm about them, but Sinnoh really started talking about the best of both worlds, trying to fit in stuff that we couldn't even dream of. It would have been so awesome. It's just a shame that the anime decided to take a different direction with things. In a different timeline, we could have seen Ash battling his way through Victory Road and smashing at the doors of a traditional Pokemon League, getting battles with Bruno and Lance that we never got. So many people, including myself, wanted Ash to take on Lance instead of Steven in that first round of the PWC. It would have been so fitting seeing as Lance first appeared back in the Kanto Elite Four. I think one of the biggest crimes of Pokemon was not letting Ash battle Lance. But the Pokemon anime decided to walk a different path, and it was an awesome one. But just imagine the things that we could have seen had Ash battled the Elite Four.